Okay, we are back. This is Ab Fab, your absolutely fabulous host of Cheshire Matters.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. You'll have to get used to that, Mandy. Mandy? Are you there, Mandy?
Hey.
Oh, there you go. There you go. See, I was going to put some Barry Manilow on, to say, like, sort of, Mandy.
Oh, God, no, don't do that. Don't do that.
Are you sure?
I hate that song.
You hate that song?
Yeah.
Well, in
We'll
case...
get rid of the 4 listeners we've got, won't it? That will wipe them out.
Yeah. Well, for people who don't know, we've been away for a couple of weeks, and we've been getting on with a few things in the background. And tonight, obviously, you've heard the Gazelle. He's there. Say hello, Gaz.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back. I'll be going on grazing in Greece again for the next few weeks, hopefully.
I know, you lucky man. And we have the stats man, the man with all the facts, the empirical facts that very few councillors, MPs, or even the Prime Minister has access to. This man is phenomenal, I have to say. And obviously you heard this lady before. Now, gentlemen, please watch your P's and Q's. We have a lady on the show tonight. Now, I won't tell you what she was like in the green room, okay? But there would be a lot of bleeps. Okay.
It was you who needed the bleeps the other week, wasn't it?
It was indeed.
Wow.
I was going nuts. I was going
Mad.
nuts because of everything that's going on. Well, okay. Quick sum up. What do you think about everything that's going on right now?
A mess.
A mess. Is that it?
Well, I think that sums it all up, doesn't it?
Well,
I'm absolutely I'm made up, me.
Well, I just want to get it out there right now. I am not Keir Starmer's love child. I'm getting it out there right now. I have nothing to do with the man. I have nothing to do with any of the women. They are not my mother, and he is not my father. I'm just putting it out there right now.
Sure.
Well, I had my MP there, Charlotte Nicholls, my namesake, who I thought was my own little Diane Abbott. And now, Keir Starmer's even better than her. He just keeps giving.
Oh, gosh. Hey, Mandy, did you see him being interviewed? And he was on one of these broadcasts, and there was a woman asking him and kept on asking him the same question about safe spaces for women.
Was that a recent one?
Yeah. And he never answered a single question. She kept on asking him all the time, are you going to support a safe space for women?
No, I'd love to see that. I know that Labour, since they've got into government, they've made some positive moves on child safeguarding, haven't they, around the whole trans issue?
Yeah.
They've said that they're going to ban, obviously, they're going to continue the ban that was instigated by the Tories on puberty blockers, things like that.
Yeah.
But he really hasn't had anything at all to say about the impacts of the whole thing on women, on women's safety or women's rights. And as we know, he thinks that you can the way to define a woman is that 99% of, what was it he said? 99% of women don't have can I say the word?
Yeah, penis.
Penis.
Don't have a
I'll say it.
penis.
Say it.
Yeah.
We said it.
So,
Trevor, say penis.
What was that, cop? No, I'm not saying things like that. No, not in.
No, we have a lady
We've got
present.
a lady in company. No, not saying anything like that. Not going down that route. He knows all about penises anyway because he's got a... Oh, no, can't say that. Come on.
No, you can't say
Not allowed
that.
to say that.
No.
I mean, they said before they got into government that they would protect women's rights and women's safe spaces. But given that none of them can really define what a woman is, it just doesn't really inspire much confidence.
Oh.
Exactly.
At all. So
I asked our MP, what is the definition of a woman? And he said he'd go with the Oxford Dictionary version of it. And I said, oh, so a woman is a man with a penis. He said, doesn't say that in the Oxford Dictionary, Jonathan. And I said, you've got to get your act together. But what can I say? As far as I'm concerned, nah, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And I don't know why they're hiding behind all of this, because it's to me, it's damaging. It's damaging to women in a lot of so many different ways. Yes, you can have sympathy with these people. You can have sympathy with them if they want to dress in high heels. Mark, how are those high heels doing for you?
They're chafing a bit, to be honest, mate. I think I need a bigger pair.
We even said on the show one time, a guy that we had here, Mandy, his name was, we nicknamed him the Raven. And we voted him to go for the job because there wasn't enough diversity, amongst us. It was just 4 guys, so, anyway. So, I mean, tell us a little bit about yourself, Mandy. I mean, you're a councillor now.
Yeah.
How did you fall into that? And why did you fall into it? And when are you getting out?
I don't know if you ever get out, do you?
It's like Hotel California, Cheshire West and Chester.
It does feel a bit like that. I became interested in politics around about 2015 because, I mean, I'm not a massive fan of Jeremy Corbyn now, I have to say, because I think he's completely turned his back on women and children in really quite a shocking way. But a lot of the policies that he was advocating, because I'm quite anti-poverty, and I mean, I started out, so I've got sort of working class background. I went to grammar school, had my first baby quite young.
Wait a minute, can I just,
on a low income?
Can I just, wait a minute, working class background, but you went to grammar school?
Yeah. Yes. Well, yeah.
Was that a boarding school?
Grammar school? No.
Okay,
I just flukily,
just wanted to clarify
against
that
everyone's
point.
expectations, I somehow weirdly passed my 11 plus and ended up in the wrong place.
Well, you look intelligent to us.
It happens sometimes, and a bit weird, but yeah. So I don't know. So I've always, and then I just kind of suppose I have quite a systemic outlook on poverty. I don't really believe in victim blaming in that regard, and I'd like to see the working man and woman done better by, in terms of, the government and how well people are looked after, that kind of thing, the NHS, the welfare state, that kind of thing. I believe in those things. I believe in the, collectivism within the workplace has been very, very important. I know that it might have been taken too far at certain points through history, but it's actually been quite important in winning people's rights and things like that. Yeah. So I got interested then, and even at that point, the membership of the Labour Party was doing really, really well, but they were still sort of asking around for people that would be interested in standing as councillors. And I put myself forward because I'd been involved in a lot of activism, a lot of door knocking. By that stage, I'd got really just sucked in, as you do with politics. It has a tendency to do that, doesn't it? Before I was on the selection panel, where I could even be considered, some of the councillors that are still there in leadership roles in the Labour Party locally here now tried to block me from being allowed to be on the selection panel and even be interviewed to stand as a councillor.
How very dare they? How very
because
dare they?
I'd already started causing trouble before then.
Trouble? Wait a minute. You don't. Trevor, does she look like she causes trouble? She doesn't look like that. She looks just like a nice lady to me.
Yeah, well, I've just been listening to your explanation. Yes, it's definitely trouble if it's Labour. No, but what's happening there, Mandy, is everybody's, the most of the Labour voters and Labour members, etc., do agree with what you're saying there to help stop poverty, etc. But this is not what we're receiving at the minute.
It's really not.
No.
I mean, they sound like lovely statements you come out there to, like you say, to help poverty, to get people back on the right track, etc., to get people working. That's lovely, but we're just not getting that with the Labour Party that we've got now.
No, they're not the same.
As we can blatantly see.
Would you give way? Would you give way to the stats man, please, sir? Go ahead, Stats.
Thank you kindly. Yes, we wanted you on, didn't we, Mandy, a few years back to talk about the poll poverty thing, and you were with Labour and you kind of warned off a little bit. So tell us about that, and then what drove you away from Labour?
So
it was a car. Okay, that's what drove her away from Labour. All right.
Electric one.
I was selected because some people spoke up in my favour. So then I stood for election. I think they were hoping that I'd bomb, but I didn't. I actually worked really hard on my ward, like leafleting and campaigning, and managed to get in. And leader of the Labour, as we know, Councillor Louise Gittins, I think possibly as a sweetener, because she knew I was trouble, offered me a leader's champion for poverty and inequality role, which came with an allowance of an extra $3,000, but it didn't make any difference to me because I'm on universal credit. So anything extra I get over a certain amount just gets taken straight back off me anyway. However, she didn't know that. And she offered me this role. And I thought, well, I'll see what I can do with this role. But it just quickly became apparent that it was supposed to be window dressing. I was really supposed to just do social media posts and speaking meetings about all the wonderful stuff that we were doing as a Labour group about poverty, and just flower it up, really. And I decided I didn't want to do that with that role. I wanted to make it meaningful. So
we wanted to interview you at that time.
Yeah,
about that, and to bring some of that stuff out and to publicize it, in that way. I mean, we were sorry that you didn't come on, but I know.
And thank you for inviting me on. It was not. I was pleased to be invited on, and I think I'm open-minded, really. About. I think it's always just good to go on shows and talk to people about what you do, and I don't really look into it any more deeply than that. Someone did warn me off, but that wasn't the reason that I didn't come on.
The
reason I didn't.
Tell us who it was, and we'll go and get them because we've got agents everywhere.
Like, genuinely, I can't remember who it was. I can't remember. There's been that much happened.
Okay.
My head's battered.
Well, you're a counsellor.
I've had 3 years of health since then, I think, or 2 or 3. I don't even know. But
well, tell us who it is, and we'll go get them as well. We've got agents everywhere. Nobody messes with the Gazelle, isn't that right, Gazelle?
I've probably got it written in some notes somewhere in an archive. Something.
I'm telling you, even Justin of Matters gets a bit worried when we look at him sideways, even though he's a minister now.
Because you started this up in lockdown, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I've thought about doing a podcast for a while. And when I first got elected as a councillor, I wanted to do regular YouTube things just to talk to people about the process of getting elected, to demystify it, really, and just explain to people.
Get more people in.
But I didn't do it, and I kind of regret that I didn't do it. And it's great that you did do it. It's a really important thing for people to have a space to listen to people just chatting about local politics and what's going on in the world. It doesn't happen enough.
We talk about local politics. We talk about the national politics. We also talk about geopolitics when it comes in. We have a presence on Twitter. I go down to Parliament when it's in session every 2 or 3 weeks and go speak to people and find out about certain things that are going on. And then we come back and we have discussions about it. And it's, a lot of the time people don't really understand what's going on. So you taking a lead to go and explain to people and demystify things, what it's like to stand as a councillor, is a good thing. It's a very, very good thing because people don't know. They don't understand. Some of the councillors are thought of as MPs by certain people.
Yes.
I have to say to you, who's our Prime Minister? Well, it's not Justin. I tell you that now. Okay. And it's not some of the other jokers around in Cheshire. Go ahead. I'll give way to the Gazelle. Right? It's almost parliamentary in nature, this, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I come across this quite often. I've even had customers of mine, people that know me, because my name is the same name as my MP, which is Nicholls. People have actually rang me up and asked me if I'm their MP, which is bizarre. And I don't know whether Mandy knows or not, but I deal a lot with reform.
Yes,
and I get so many emails. I'm still getting them now, asking me how do people stand for councillor, and I'm amazed that I'm talking tens and tens up to the hundreds that haven't got a clue what the system is,
and they don't know what happens within the council chambers either, Trevor.
No, I stood 5 at the last election, as you know, the local elections, and not one of them not one of them had any idea whatsoever what the process was, which amazes me. People are just not connected.
No, they're not. They don't know.
They're not interested.
Mark stood in an election as well.
Yeah.
2.
Yeah. I mean, and
they don't make it easy.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I think that's the way they want it.
Yeah.
Yeah. About a month ago, and I can't remember, 2 months ago, the Crewe by-election, 16% turnout was amazing.
That's terrible. But Labour.
I've been at this game for 30 years. I was in Labour Party for 25 years.
Well, Labour.
I can't remember the turnouts that we're getting at the minute. I can't ever remember them in my time.
Labour depend on a low turnout. They go out and they get the core base. They get the old dears, which I don't think they're going to get next year because of the removal of the winter fuel allowance. I had an argument with somebody in the town, and they said, "Oh, Labour's going to get in again. They'd get in tomorrow." And I went, "I don't think so." I said, 4 out of 5 people did not vote for Labour. I said, and let's be straight now, Labour are an accidental government who got in because of a fractured opposition. They got in with 9.7 million votes. Do you know how many pensioners are going to lose the winter fuel allowance this year? I said, no. I don't know, somewhere over 10 million. I said, they'll wipe them out. I said, so you think that Labour are going to get in tomorrow? I said, forget it. It isn't going to
this
happen.
myth that they've got that the pensioners all vote Conservative. So wrong.
No.
Completely wrong. Not in my Warrington, they don't.
Well, we've noticed at all the elections that Labour get in on a very, very small vote share. They secure that vote, and they do not want more people to come out and vote. They just want a small vote share, which means that we want to know what your secret was in Winsford Dean. How did you get all those people in?
Well,
because we should just tell everybody.
So the first time I stood was
this woman has got, how many is it, Mandy? Is it 12 or 14?
How many people we got elected through Salt of the Earth?
Yeah.
The independent group. So that was the second time that I got elected, and I'd left Labour by then, so I got invited to be involved with Salt of the Earth. We didn't have that name for it at that point, but it was just some independents to try and kick Labour into shape, really. And we got 14, I think that's right, 14. Yeah, 14 of 15 town councillors were ours. Yeah. Brilliant. Massive team. And then in addition to that, 3 of the, I think it's 7 borough seats for Quack for Cheshire West. We got those as well. So there's 3 of us that are independents on Quack now because we did that, because we put a full slate of candidates up for borough and a full slate of candidates up for town in Winsford.
That's a lot.
And it was mega. It was just mega. But I think what we mainly, we did have a really, I nicked a lot of the campaign methodology from Labour, which I'd learned that from them, and just grafted it onto our situation.
Let us just say that you appropriated it for the right reasons. Say that. Well,
it's not copyrighted, is it? They all do it. They all kind of do similar things, I guess. All the main political parties, they know how this works. The election cycle, they're sort of well versed in it. So we just grafted that onto our model. But we did it with bells on, really, because we had a campaign, 2 campaign songs where we raised local issues, like we superimposed our own lyrics over them and recorded our own versions. We had an amazing campaign poster, which was the leaflet with the manifesto, if you like, on the back. And then on the other side, it was for them to put in the window, and it was just a hand, big hand, and it said, "Stop, don't knock here. This is a Winsford Salt of the Earth household." And we started seeing these big hands going up in the windows around Winsford, and we were like, also our figurehead, I guess, he was like a pub landlord, and he knew all the other pub landlords in Winsford, so we were able to get, we were talking about this, weren't we? Myself,
we were,
that was really good. So you kind of can get under the radar. So we did get press releases published by the local media, who've clamped down a lot now, but at that time they did publish some of our stuff. We held public meetings. We did surveys, online surveys, what people wanted us to put in the manifesto and what they thought about the bus service and all things like that. We had our banners all over the pubs, and we also put some tablets on the bar in one of the pubs, so that if anyone didn't know how to do their photo ID or how to register for a postal vote, they could come in and the bar staff would help them with that as well. So it was quite a vibrant campaign. We got amazing momentum with it, even though it was quite late in the day that we got our team together and started working on it. But the main thing was that we just put it out there as many ways as we could think of what we wanted to do, based on, we knew we'd hit a nerve in terms of stuff that people felt really fed up about, that Labour was failing them on. It's a Labour town, a really strong Labour town. And we just managed to connect with people with the right policies.
My lady, would you give way to Statsman?
I shall.
Thank you very much. I'd just like to ask Mandy, what was it Labour were failing on? Exactly.
Oh my God.
On the council in general.
Where do you even start? It's like you said, right? We were saying before in the green room, is that, some of the areas in the borough are very neat and tidy to drive through, walk through, live in. And then other areas are very unkempt. Some areas are really well served.
Supposed to be part of nature, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. You see, so people were fed up. There's no town centre toilets. People are fed up because the market roof just leaks. The stall holders have got buckets, and it's just pouring down the walls. It's wrecking their stock, and it's been like that for years. Like the woman who's got the stall with sells the cards, for example, greetings cards. Loads of her stock got ruined, and it's happened loads of times. There was one that had water coming down it was the school uniform stall, right down by where the electrics are, and none of this is treated as urgent. People just aren't listened to when they're asking for help with things. The town centre regeneration, so-called, has gone on years and years. It's been this big project that Labour have heralded as, it's an amazing thing. We bought the town centre. That town centre, the existing shops are no better. They're no different. Yeah. They're in as much of a state of disrepair and they look as terrible and run down as they ever have. And they're not going to be looking any better. What they've gained is a massive car park, a Costa, a big B&M. And there was supposed to be, I don't know how, it was like 6 or 7 units, and that's been cut in half. The number of units they've had to manage it down. And the actual town centre itself is still there, dilapidated, falling apart, roofs leaking. It's just... it's just where do you begin? And when I've asked for information from the council as to what they're investing, say, for example, say you take something you can compare across each of the different towns. So say it's town centre toilets, provision, maintenance, or say it's the market, making sure the market is in a good state of repair or whatever. How much are they spending in each of the towns comparatively? They tell me they don't have that information. So how is anyone
now that is not true. They do have the information. They do have the information. What they're actually saying is, we're not giving it to you. Because we ask questions, and I decided to press about certain things because I know that Louise and the other councillors, especially the Labour ones, they hate us because you see we don't work at their level. We work at a different level, and we go access information, and we decide to bring certain things out. It used to be in the past, we used to have something called a breakfast club, and some of the Labour councillors that weren't actually happy with what was going on would get together with people that they trusted, that they knew, wouldn't break confidences. And then they'd sit down and say, right, okay, well, who's going to let this one out then? And then somebody else would. And it was different people. And forget the party ties. It was all about actually doing good for the borough. And that went on for quite a while. Quite a while. Now, these people, you could tell when we went down to what was it like when we went to the CWAC SA protest, Mark? When we walked in, you should have seen the faces. Well, there's nothing we can talk about there. And I said, well, can't you get anybody down that we can get a comment from? Nobody would come down. Nobody would comment. Sorry, Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, we've tried to engage with the council for quite a few number of years now, obviously with things like the poverty with yourself and other stuff. What we experienced at first is we were ignored, and then eventually we were kind of warned off, and then finally we were told that the council have no legal obligation to actually communicate with us at all. Bearing in mind we are actually constituents
as well
in this borough as well, and they would not address our concerns. So another question for Mandy is, what's your experience when you try and raise issues? Because I noticed you've obviously tried to raise safeguarding issues with women and children and stuff like that. Are you finding the same thing being a councillor? Is it any easier for you? Or
no, definitely not. I mean, as a councillor, you've got an enhanced right to information, so it's almost like having a direct freedom of information request right. There's a thing called the information sharing protocol. If it's in the public interest, and you ask for it, really you should be furnished with that information. There's no way, like, how can anybody have any faith that the people that are in control of the council, which is the Labour cabinet, are not spending shed loads more money on every which way in their own wards to make sure their own people get re-elected, you know, rather than looking at what the actual needs are across nobody's going to know, you know, but they're blatant, they're shameless, they're not interested. But what I have found is when I do challenge them on things, which I do, I know I'm not always going to get the information, but it's a way of me just highlighting to the public, hopefully, how bad it is and embarrassing them, because every now and again through embarrassing them, you do get some results. But the other thing that happens when you do embarrass them is that there's an immediate backlash. They'll attack you back in some way, or at least they were doing for a couple of years. So on social media, I would notice if I uncovered something that was a raw nerve, what I'd be doing is I would be saying, here's some evidence of this, or here's some evidence of where the council's failing on this or that, or here's something I've asked for and they've told me they haven't got it, whatever. So it'd be a truthful thing and it'd be a policy thing. It wasn't a personal attack or insult against anybody. But the attack would then always come back within 2 to 3 days, and it'd be name calling, it'd be pylons, it would be encouraging residents to join in with pylons. It was very personal. And that has been across the board, that's been my experience whenever I challenge them on anything, which in itself is just so unhealthy. It's so shocking, really.
It's childish. It's childish.
Mm.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Trevor.
Yeah, I mean, this is not unique to Mandy's constituency. It's the same in Warrington. I've put freedom of information requesting for allocation of housing, and I was talking to an ex-Labour councillor from St Helens today. I was in St Helens, and he was telling me that he wanted the same thing. He wanted the allocation of migrants because it's a very important issue. He put in a freedom of information and they came back, we don't store that information. Mm. Well, I don't. You know, they've got electoral registers, so they know exactly who is where and when. It's happening in every constituency, every town.